And we record it so that we can share it with the other club members that couldn't come tonight.
Okay. Well, I'm really excited that Brandon's joined us. So Brandon Kelly, PhD. He's used to people telling him his whole life that he's not going to make it, whether it's not going to survive, not going to walk, not going to amount to anything. He's had a lot of people tell him what he can't do, and instead he just decides to go out and prove everybody wrong. He has authored several books. He's an entrepreneur. He has set records, both athletic and through his business efforts, and has now become, has really focused on helping organizations develop leadership and strategy and skills to achieve their goals. As far as scouting, there's few people you're going to meet that have as many awards and as much involvement over the course of their life as Brandon. He's a outstanding Eagle Scout. OA, there's pages that we could go over with his awards, but I think some of the things that he's done, whether it's been on executive boards and multiple councils and national committees and international involvement, it's a Baden-Powell Fellow. He does have one of the most successful units in our council. Like you said, he just had, 32nd Eagle Scout. They have about 100 youth, and he's the founder of this unit, which also includes a Silver Buffalo, Silver Antelope, a couple of other amazing. His committee looks more like a national committee than a local troop unit, and that's because of his ability to network and bring in people of talent and inspire them. So I want to turn it over to my friend Brandon and let him take it from there. But thank you, Brandon, for being here, and glad to count you as one of my friends.
Well, thanks, Jared. You've definitely done your homework, and it'll be kind of some fun here. So I will warn you guys that I am a professional speaker, so you're going to have to kind of give me like the time's up sign or something like that, because I can go with some fun stories. But it looks like everybody we have here is based in America and probably has some involvement with American Scouting. Is that true? If it's not true, raise your hand so I can just kind of have an idea of making sure that I have the right to. It's not. So Jeff, where are you from?
I grew up in Kansas, but I'm now living in Southport, North Carolina.
Okay. But you at least have some involvement or know of scouting, so I can make some references there and have some fun with that, or do I need to keep everything more business?
No, go ahead. I think I'll be okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try to see if I can share my screen here. Although it says host has disabled it, so I need somebody to do that so I can share.
Let me turn that on for you.
But as that's coming up, when I was 2 years old, I was hit by a drunk driver, so I was paralyzed. I had 295 stitches to put my face back together, and among other things, I said I'd never walk or talk again. And so it's been kind of an interesting, series of surgeries and recoveries from those. And the long and short of it, when I was in the 5th and 6th grade, I got into a beat 'em up, shoot 'em out gang in Denver. And I was the only white person in an all African-American gang. And a scoutmaster came and said, we need to pull you out of this and get you involved into, something where you can make a difference. And scouting has made a difference to where I literally have traveled the world. I think I'm on only like 39 countries now and in a few 50 states or so. But, I've been fortunate because of that high jump. I learned how to push myself higher and harder and definitely try to go further than what was expected. And like Jared alluded to, leading up to that, I was always told, no, you're too short, you're not good enough, you'll never amount to anything. And I ended up, before getting hit by a dump truck several years ago, I had a small little vertical leap. How many of you guys have ever heard of Michael Jordan from the NBA basketball about 25, 30 years ago? Anybody? Does that name ring a bell? So Michael Jordan had a 60-inch or 5-foot vertical leap. And my vertical leap, because of this accident, one leg was shorter than another, was 66 inches. And then I started getting ready to compete for the U.S. Olympic team in the high jump. So we went from not walking clear to, you know, a bar that keeps raising and raising and raising. And so I'd like to use some of those thoughts tonight to maybe have you guys take some thoughts back to both your business, your scouts, your associates, and see if any of that is helpful. And so I'm going to see if I can get this to pull up now.
Yeah. you should
And
be good.
hopefully, is it sharing now?
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully we've got this up and going. And so obviously with my background in scouting, eagles soaring, eagle and soar actually stand for something. And eagle to me stands for everybody achieves greatness through leadership excellence. And what does that mean? And really, when we start to look at some of the life, it's really the quest for the best. And so within our companies or organization, are we just trying to be there, stay under the radar, you know, just do our job, make our paycheck and bail out every day? Or are we trying to unite a team for quest for the best? And Jared kind of alluded that in our troop. It was kind of funny, 3 years ago here in Utah, all of the major sponsors pulled out. So we went from 275,000 youth down to about 5,000. And our scout executive turned to me and he said, Brandon, you're not good enough to start a troop. You know, all you do is play at the national level. You don't know what it's like to relate to the youth. And I was like, that's kind of abstract. And so we started with 5 kids. And over the next 2.5, 3 years, we took top in the state 3 years in a row and had 100 kids. But what we did is we developed a committee full of people that were successful in all of their own right, that helped deliver a culture where we expected the kids to perform at a higher level. They just didn't know that that was the expectation. And so that's why we talk about elevating to record levels. So in our quest for the best, you know, we talk about the eagle, and, you know, and I know, again, we have worldwide scouters here as well, but this is the American highest award that a youth can earn for achievement in setting personal goals. And I love the fact that at the very top of it, you see the smile and then be prepared. And as leaders, what do we need to be prepared for? Is it just the day? Is it the week? Is it hitting budgets? And I would submit it's much like the eagle, and that we need to be prepared for everything that we're going to face. The growth, what happens when contracts don't come through, supply chain issues. And so as we look at things, how do we respond? And for me, you know, I've faced a fair number of trials and tribulations and challenges in life. But every day, and if you look behind me, I've kind of got some eagle stuff here on my wall. But every day I look at it and go, I can frown, I can smile, or I can just sit there and have fun with it. And ultimately, that smile and the be prepared reminds me to smile through the trials and tribulations. So then I look at the colors, the red, white, the blue, you know, being courageous, being honorable, and really, how do we serve as a team? And then finally, from that eagle, it's setting a plan and achieving, you know, not only just the 20 or 30 steps that it takes to get to being an Eagle Scout, but really it's demonstrating the leadership. And so as we go through, how do we learn? Again, for those of you that are taking notes, it's everybody achieves greatness through leadership excellence. And I would submit that being a Rotarian and constantly living up to the 4-way test, as well as if you can mix in the leadership learning from being an eagle, that you will inspire others around you to fly or soar at a higher level. Now, you know, as we look at that, what does that really mean? So how it goes for us as the leader is how the rest of our group is going to respond. So if we're faced with a trial or a challenge and we get down or we're really bummed out, or, you know, that entire energy is going to be transferred to the rest of our team or our organization. And I've tracked organizations across the country, but those that have a leadership that's always focused on the vision of the future and their ability to improve or, you know, recover from that, those are the ones that are the most successful and the ones you hear about in the news, versus the ones that are closing or struggling through, you know, the pandemic, loss of jobs, loss of business, and things like that. And so I would really hope that as we take away this thought about being an eagle, how it goes for us as the leader and how we respond to all of those challenges will be exactly the type of experience that we're going to get from our team. And so I would submit that would be, sit down before you respond and think, okay, what are the recourses going to be? What if I lash out? What if I say, hey, you know what, Jared, Jenny, good job for doing what you did. Yes, we kind of fell short, but let's improve in this area or this area and move forward. And I would suspect that they would respond better and be like, okay, this guy doesn't hate me. I can still get in and be part of the organization. By the way, statistically, if you were to take an organization, roughly 30% of them are engaged, but they don't know what they want to do. Another 60% are engaged, but just kind of going in circles and don't know how they can truly contribute. You're going to have 1 or 10% actively trying to drill a hole in the boat so that it will sink. And 2 of the final people will be trying to take over as a leader, waiting for somebody to screw up. And so as we look at how does that go for the leader, again, ultimately it's how is your organization is either going to go and grow or it's going to sink with the link. Is that fair? Any thoughts or questions on the learning from the Eagle before I kind of move forward to what else I've noticed attributes on an Eagle can do? Nodding the heads, we're all good.
I think I'm good.
Okay. And from there, one of the things that I love about Eagles is that they soar and they truly, when people or other animals try to attack them or bring them down, they'll soar higher, higher, and higher till ultimately, the crows or the hawks that are trying to attack them are literally up so high that they can't breathe or respond anymore. And it's very normal for the eagle to soar at that level. And so as we talk about what does it mean to soar, this might be something worth writing down because it's something that we work with in a lot of organizations. And when we soar, we're setting an outstanding achievement or record. And so I would challenge you to go look at the things that you measure within your organization, within your company, even down to your scout troop and say, okay, what is it that we're measuring? And what is the record? And so then maybe the record is here, but we're capable of going here or higher. And so it might be a number of merit badges earned in the troop, or it might be number of sales in a week or a day or in a quarter. But what it comes down to is how do you, as a leader, recognize those that are soaring? In other words, those that are flying higher, how do you truly promote them? Because we live in a society, and I think many of us have probably heard about the crab in the bucket, right? If you get one crab in the bucket, they'll figure their way out. But if you get more than one, they're all pulling them down and trying to attack them. And so what our role as a leader is to help our people soar, get those hurdles out of the way. And then at the end of the day, how do we sit there and put our hand on their shoulder and say, hey, Pat, Jared, you guys did a great job. Way to go as a team. Let's keep it up and keep energized. And so I want to just pose the question, what are some things that in the next week or month before your next meeting that each of you might be able to soar better at? Maybe it's even being a better parent or member of your family. But, Pat, I'm going to start with you since you're on the top. But what are some things that you guys could soar at in the coming weeks? And he's muted out here, so.
It's unusual to find me muted. I would say, I'm involved with Coast Guard Auxiliary Ox Scout program, and I'm working at kind of a higher position there. So I have a lot of folks underneath me, and I have quite a few flotillas that just are not engaged right now with the Sea Scouting program. So that's something I can soar higher, is to get more of the flotillas involved.
Okay, that's a great one. Liesl, what about you?
My project that I was working on ended a couple of months ago, and it's time for me to get back to work so I could focus on that and soar better with looking for another position.
Okay. Jeff?
For me personally, I think I teach chess in the schools, and I need to approach our scouts here and be able to help out with them getting their badge for that particular activity.
Okay, that's a great one, Jeff. Jared.
So as our executive team, we're getting ready to have our first total board meeting since getting our funding. So we've got now it just blank, so that's not really looking good toward what we're going to accomplish, but just our strategy and our model and forecast that we're going to be presenting, especially in light of the economic downturn. So we're very excited about it, but there are some challenges and some interesting ways to address those that I think we're excited about. But a lot of strategy sessions happening right now that we're doing this, we're setting goals, we're setting that outlook and tone. So
Okay, so hopefully the SOAR method will help you. And then what about Jeannie? What about you?
Well, I'm starting a virtual Sea Badge course based
Ooh.
out of Hawaii. And so I have to work on what my logbook's going to read. So I have to come up with a bunch of my rudders for that.
Are you on staff or are you a participant?
I'm a participant.
Well, one of the silver antelopes that's on that is actually in my troop and crew, and he and I were area Sea Scouts together. So it's a small world.
It is a
Small
very
world.
small world. I'm really good friends with the course director.
Excellent. Did I miss anybody, or is that everybody that's here with us? So hopefully we've got everybody covered, but as it's time to soar, I know I've only got a few more minutes, but one of the things that I loved from the 2002 Olympics that were held here in Utah was this helmet and this picture of this female skeleton racer. And her focus is so on point with where she's going, what her goals are. You look at that and you know not to mess with her because she's out to set a record. And so my challenge would be, as we go forward in the coming days and weeks, what can we do to soar and stay focused? And so I'm not gonna go over the time to stand stuff because we don't have that, and raising the bar.
You have
Although-
about 25 minutes still, so
Oh, I have 20. I thought I only had 20 to 25 minutes from the time you guys started. So I'm like trying to hurry and get this all in. So
we
if I
got our
still got a-
business. We got our business done quickly, so you had an extra few
Okay.
minutes.
Well,
she's the
so
boss,
several years ago, I had the chance, just before I got hit by a dump truck. I was clearing 7'4". The world record was 7'11". And after a couple of weeks of working with a trainer, I went from literally just doing this all on my own to having people coach me. And they taught me to see the bar not as a challenge that keeps rising, but that it's a friend that measures what you're capable for or capable of. And so as we talk about how do you raise the bar to be a star, ultimately I cleared 7'9". I was 2 inches away from a world record, and a dump truck ran a red light, and I had to learn how to walk and talk a second time in my life. But as we look at this example, a lot of times in life, we see that high bar and we don't either want to stretch to it, or we think about what's the pain going to happen if I fall on it. And at the end of the day, really what it is there to say, hey, this is what you're capable of. But if you would have stretched this much more, you would have gotten a record. And if I've got a few minutes, do you mind if I share a story from when I was a kid that this really kind of became poignant for me, or should I kind of go forward to some other things that can help you guys out? You guys tell me if you want a personal story or if you want me to keep moving on.
Tell us a story.
Tell us a story.
I like a
So-
story.
So when I was 12 years old, I was 5'2", and I had a friend that was in 6th grade with me as well. And he was 6 foot tall and 180 pounds. And we spent the first 3 months learning how to high jump, and we could barely get high enough to clear where that blue mattress was. And for our little school in Wyoming, up in Cheyenne, we were a really poor school. And so we could only afford the mattress that came out of our gym teachers, basically like an RV or a tent trailer. And it had the springs kind of going up. And so every time we would jump over and we were supposed to land on our back, we'd end up getting poked through the skin or our kidneys would get hit or things like that with these springs. And so for 3 months, we could barely clear 3 feet, which we could literally step over, but we were afraid of the bar. We were afraid of the pain. We were afraid of the challenge. And so we went to the state competitions, and he and I had qualified for it. And if you guys can see there on my screen, that first kind of bar system at the bottom is about 4 feet tall. And that's exactly how high we had to clear just to even keep in the race. And we looked at each other and we said, we've never cleared anything like this. This is higher than what we can do. It's much stronger than our capabilities will ever be ready for. And so we turned to each other, kind of psyched each other up. And my friend Tremaine, he ran at it first and he jumped way too late and crashed into the bar, and the whole thing fell over him. So it was like 150 pounds of bar falling on him. And then the second time he ran too soon and did the third, or, did the same. And I put my arm over his shoulder because he was that much taller than me. And I said, remember, we can raise the bar. And if we raise the bar, then we'll be a star. So see it as a friend and not as a pain. And we literally competed in that. He would clear it. I don't know how, but the very first jump, I cleared 5 feet instead of the 3 feet that I was capable of. So I was clearing as tall as I was in the first jump. And we went on that day and ultimately set a record in Wyoming that's never been beaten. But we ended up at 6'4", and they came out and said, you guys have been going for 2 hours. You're at the state record. He ran at it a couple more times and crashed and stuck at 6'4". And so we were both tied at 6'4". And I was out of gas. I was out of energy, and I still had 3 more races to run with my gimpy Forrest Gump leg. And I turned to the judge and I said, raise it to 6'7", thinking, to give myself some time to get some energy. I didn't think I'd make it. And I remembered what my coach taught me. He said, you have to be the ace. And that means you will have to always challenge your excellence. And so to be an ace, you have to put in the pace. So in other words, I had to count back how many paces it was. I had to commit to being in the race. I had to trace my steps in my mind, and then ultimately give it all that I have to be the ace. And I ran at that, cleared the event, and set a record at 6 feet 7.5 inches when I was 5'2". And so what really happened that day is that we learned how to double and triple our effort by simply seeing the bar as a measurement tool for ourselves versus just trying to be afraid of it and stay under the radar. And so hopefully that little example, will resonate with you guys. As we move forward, I wanted to leave you guys with how to keep our eyes on the prize. And so I want everybody to take your left hand, which is this hand, and I want you to point to your left eye. Okay. Jeff, that includes you. You can't get out of this. I can see you. There we go. So yeah, it's the audience left, so I should turn around. But every time you see your left eye, and whether you're putting on your glasses, your contacts, your makeup, anything of that nature, always ask yourself, have I elevated my efforts today? So say that with me. I want you guys to say, and you can stay on mute, but I want you to say, elevate your efforts with me. Okay, so say it, elevate your efforts.
Elevate your efforts.
Okay, now the answer to that is by putting the right hand on our right eye. If we have done one thing today better or higher or more significant than we did the day before, we have truly elevated your excellence. So I want you to point to your right eye and say, elevate your excellence.
Elevate
your excellence.
So when we have to get our head in the game, I want you to point like this now with both hands. The key to success, and I've left this with almost 1 million people around the world, is that we have to elevate our efforts and elevate our excellence so that we can truly rise to the top. So I want you guys to say that with me. Elevate your efforts.
Elevate your efforts.
And elevate your excellence.
And elevate your excellence.
So hopefully those are some fun little keys that we can share with you. I don't want to take much more time, but this is just kind of a slide that I had in my book, so I apologize about that. But as we look at, again, what can we do to be the quest for the best? I want you to sit down and write down, what are you best at? And what can you improve on? And what can you help somebody else improve themselves to a better or higher standard? And so that would be a great challenge, especially as we're here in the first part of January. You know, it's something that you can apply to the rest of your, really the rest of the calendar year or other goals. And so hopefully, you know, those quick little antidotes will be some fun little activities for you to do, that they'll apply both professionally within the Rotary and as well as back in your home life. And so I just wanted to do that and just share. And again, thanks for having me on your Rotary event. Again, our troop is sponsored by the Kaysville Rotary, and so we're certainly aware and appreciative of how much of an impact they have around the world. And it's an honor for me to be able to be with you and Jared for you to reach out for me. But I'm going to wrap it up with that, unless you guys have questions or, you know, want to talk World Scouting, want to talk anything like that. I'm happy to engage in any of those conversations with you. But hopefully, I've left a message that will stick, I hope. So
Great. Thank you so much. That was really good. So,
let's see, and I'm going to end the share. There we go. There we go.
and there's always questions, so I'm sure there'll be questions.
Fire away.
So I have a question, Brandon. Actually, I have two. Are you a Rotarian?
I have not had the time to be a Rotarian. As an international speaker, I tend to travel 200 to 300 days a year. And so I have not been able to commit to their schedule.
This club would be perfect for you.
I brought that up too, Pat.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Hey, I'm the membership chair. I got to do what I got to do, you know.
How much is the membership?
It's $200 a year. Best investment you could ever make.
Okay. Do I have to be to all
I'm
the
doing one of
meetings?
these right now.
You do not have to be at all the meetings, no.
Yeah, you don't, obviously you don't have to come to all the meetings. So my other question is, you know, I kind of had a lifetime of excellence. Really pushed hard to achieve things. And I just retired here this past July, and I'm doing a terrible, terrible job at it because I keep trying to achieve excellence, where my priority needs to be like fishing, which I haven't, my boat has not been in the water for quite some time. And you get lots and lots of advice on how to achieve excellence and how to get places, but how do you turn that off? You know, I mean, it seems like I'm constantly getting myself more involved in things. And of course, I just can't go to a meeting and sit there on my hands. I got to put it up in the air and volunteer for something. So how do you turn this achievement stuff off?
You're talking to the wrong person. I've got about 250 achievements, and you know, I've bought and sold 9 businesses, and I sit there and I'll retire for 6 or 8 months, and then I get bored and I start to do something else. And I'm actually doing private equity now, where we're buying and remodeling hotels. So how do you turn it off? I don't know that you ever turn it off, but I would submit that in the fishing, you know, then you start to dedicate some time to that, and then you start to dedicate, you know, how do you get a better technique, or how do you catch more? Or in my case, you know, I'll throw the lead weight out without a hook on, so I don't have to catch anything, so that I can relax more. But how do you slow down? Honestly, being a Rotarian and the scouting that you're doing, I don't see that happening. But I'll have to give that one some thought, and that'll be my topic next time, I guess. I don't know.
That might be a good break, a good book. It could be
Well,
a big-
I've only written 7 of them. I've got another 3 or 4 more that I've got halfway done. So maybe I'll find a way to put that in the next time. Who else? You know, since I'm in the front of the firing squad, why don't you guys? What else do you want to fire away with?
Well, I was gonna make a joke to Pat saying, you know, there's only a couple generations left of that kind of problem, because there's a lot of them that want to, you know, just kind of retire right now. But so that would be my question is, you know, how do we, there's a lot of apathy in the current generation of youth, and a lot of that from social media and stuff that's telling them, you know, you just, you know, try to be an influencer, right? There's a lot of hard work to actually do it, but there's a lot of perception that I don't really have to do anything. I can just, you know, put myself out there on social media and make a living that way, or make an impact. How do you encourage youth to kind of buck the trend and realize that effort, that excellence requires effort, and maybe embracing some of the stuff that we all raised with that isn't the cool thing anymore. At least I'm seeing that more and more, is how do you get youth to have that drive and really strive for what excellence is, rather than just what you see on Instagram.
That's actually a great question, Jared. So in my role, obviously, as a national speaker, I see a lot of influencers, and the reality is the vast majority of them are fake, and a lot of them are suicidal just because I didn't get a million likes or hits on my video, and so they need to, if they will strive for excellence, in other words, doing the best that they can and being the top. I think that would be the first thing. The second part of that is we need to get rid of all of the game mentality, meaning, like my kids hate me because I won't let them play their, the Xbox and all the other games for more than a certain amount of time, per day, per week. And that's because I recognize that's dumbing them down. And it's just an instant kind of respawn into the game instead of paying your dues and working and actually, putting the effort to it. So I would say, there still needs to be awards in place for recognition, your bronze, silver, gold type of a thing. And then as far as the drive goes, oddly enough, my drive came from a book when I was about 12 years old, because I was a little bit delayed in education and speaking because of all the things that happened to me. And it's a book that you may or may not have read, but it's fairly simple. It's called The Boxcar Children. It's the very first one in a set of about 150 books. And in that, what stands out to me is that Henry, who was kind of the oldest of the 4 kids that had been orphaned, decided to enter a race because there was some money at the end of the day. And ultimately he was running the race, and then he started passing people, and then he realized that, he could take a longer stride, he could be more involved. And all of a sudden, within the last probably 200 to 300 yards of the race, he realized that he'd passed everybody but the top 3. And so he started to commit and sprint and literally came from behind to win. And so that little book challenged me to figure out, what is it that I'm good at? How can I improve? And I really don't know what I'm capable of until I give it my all. So I would suggest that, we take that example or help them figure out what is it they're good at and go from there. Does that answer your question, Jared?
Yeah,
Okay.
I loved that story when I was a kid. So, and then when we moved to where my parents are now, they actually had a railroad boxcar in the back.
Oh, wow.
And so
That's pretty cool.
It's a good storage unit, but yeah, that was always kind of that reminiscent thing from my youth. So
Yeah, when you talk about youth, we have a educator here in North Carolina named Sam Houston, not the Texan, but he runs the Friday Institute, and he was saying that in the corporate world and in the education world, we have a generation of young people who have access to all the information in the world. He says, but there's one thing they're not learning how to do, and we're starting to see more and more of that. They don't know what to do when they don't know what to do. They have a tendency of, like a video game, if you can't accomplish something, you keep doing it over and over and over and over, and eventually you either get a new video game or you figure out, sometimes by mistake, how to solve that particular problem. But I'm finding this even with I was a high school teacher and I'm a Cub Scout leader, and I see even little Cub Scouts, as soon as they get a problem, they just stop. They don't know what to do next. They don't know how to solve that problem or understand the process of doing that. And I wonder if that's a video game thing too, but I really like that. They don't know what to do when they don't know what to do.
It's true. It really is.
So one of the things that I did with my sons, because that same type of thing, I would give them an assignment, like, I need you to go and whatever it was, I need you to go and set up these shelves, or dig out this route or whatever. And they'd always say, well, how do I do it? I'm like, figure it out. like, I will just tell me, I'm like, part of the chore is trying to figure it out. And they hated that, absolutely hate it. And they'd fight back and like, well, it'd be easier if. I'm like, yeah, easy is not always the option. I need you to, and now that they're in the, in college or in their career and stuff, it's something like, Dad, thanks for doing that. Because I work with so many kids my age, they have no idea. They have to handhold them. They can't problem solve. They have to be guided. And so I'm glad it only took them about, 8 years to figure out Dad wasn't just a jerk. But but that's one of those things that I see a lot too, especially with younger ones coming into workplace. I'm like, I can't just hold your hand. I can give you some direction and you can ask questions, but that entrepreneurship, I guess, just even individual ability to think through a problem, and but they're not challenged. Like you said, they can reset, they can just hit reset and keep on going. Or school, a lot of schools are backing off, challenging them because parents are right there telling them it's the teacher's fault, not the kid's fault. So yeah,
It's true.
I love scouting.
Anyone else? Liesl, I think you're on mute.
Yep. So what's been the key to your troop's success? You've been 3 years, you said, and you have 32 Eagles already?
Well, so part of that, understand that we lost the LDS Church as a giant sponsor in Utah. So probably 98% of all of the kids were involved in that. We started with 5, and we had a bunch of kids, within about 3 months, we were up to about 20 to 25. A lot of those kids were a merit badge or 2 away from their Eagle. They might have needed 4 or 5, 6 months for their Eagle project. You know what I mean? So simple stuff like that. And so we probably had 10 or 12 of those. But what has been the success? We go through a standpoint that we call it EPIC. And that is that everything that we do needs to be higher, harder, funner, and better than the last thing that we did. So the very first activity that we did right after we founded is we went to the National Guard base and got to sit in helicopters. We got to see how the missiles fire, all that fun stuff. But everything we've done, in fact, we actually started right at the start of the pandemic. I mean, we'd only been a troop for 3 months, but we figured out how to engage the youth. And it took us a little bit of time to do youth-led, because outside Utah, basically what happens is the Scoutmaster runs everything. Well, let me rephrase that. In Utah, the Scoutmaster runs everything, and the youth just are along there to do whatever they tell you. And so once we gave control to the youth and said, okay, we're going to go on a backpacking trip, and we're going to go to the Grand Canyon and Bryce Canyon. Now, all of a sudden, we started to paint some things that were pretty epic. So in 2024, our troop has been selected to represent the United States and go to the 80th anniversary of Normandy there in France. And so we will literally be taking all of our troop to France as our kind of yearly highlighter activity. But what we tried to do is to help them truly stretch and do something higher and harder than they've done before. So I don't know, does that help, Liesl, in what we've done?
Yeah.
Running the patrol method obviously has helped. We've put all of our kids in leadership. We've raised a ton of money to go to NYLT. I've got 85 to 90% of all my adults are wood badge trained or finishing up their tickets right now. So I don't know. I mean, it's just having a love. And I think Jared and what I've seen from Jerry or no, Pat, was that having a love for scouting, the kids will take that energy and they'll feed on it. So they have a love for the activity of scouting, the achievement. I've told the kids that if they can beat me in earning merit badges, I'll take them and their parents out for a steak dinner. And I've had to do that a couple of times. And I was at 120. So, I'm doing 400 merit badges every court of honor because these kids are trying to compete. What else? I mean, some of the things we've done is we've created a troop honor society. So those kids that stay active after getting their Eagle, We've created a leadership and service award for those that go way above and beyond or bring in their friends, helping organize like Merit Badge Mondays where the kids will go do merit badges at their house. So we just try to be innovative, and instead of saying no, we say, how can we make it happen? Does that help, Liesl?
Yeah, no, at this point, I am out of troop activities, I think. My son's troop dissolved at the end of the year and they've moved to a crew. And so they're off and running, but I think it's always interesting to hear how troops are being so successful. And it's all the things, a lot of the things you talked about were things, yep, those are the things that make successful troops. So.
Well, and one of the keys that we do, especially in a court of honor situation, well, even so, if somebody passes a board of review tonight for their star, I have a handful of those on hand. And at the end of the meeting, we're going to say, hey, this kid did a great job. He got a star, his life, his first class, whatever. So it's instant gratification. But we as leaders are always looking for, how did little Joey make a difference? Or what did he do that went above and beyond what we expected? And so when we do that court of honor, every single person gets the spotlight on them for a minute of, Liesl did this great, and Jeff did that great, and Jenny did this great. And each of those is different. So we're not just saying the same rhetoric, but we're truly paying attention to what did they do and how do they contribute. And I think that maybe has some of the mechanics to it. I don't know. I just naturally do it. So I've never really thought about it.
Yeah, no, I think that those are good things. Our first troop, okay, we've had really bizarre scouting experience, but our first troop, my son was basically the only active troop scout in the troop when we were there, but we had big courts of honor. The scoutmaster went through everything he had done that quarter, what big activities they've done, and usually there was others. Oftentimes there were other scouts coming in and out of the troop as well. And then we've gone to this is most recent troop, and their court of honors last 15-20 minutes. Here's your awards, bang, done. And I'm like, whoa, this is a lot different.
Well, and that's an interesting fact too on that, Liesl, is that during the pandemic, it was hard. We had 2 of our adult leaders get the silver beaver, one get a silver antelope, and one get a silver buffalo. And we couldn't present those at any sort of a council or national function. And so we did some pomp and circumstance for those after the boys got their awards. But it was amazing because now those boys are, what other awards are out there? How can I serve? And so now they're trying to figure out, let's do everything that scouting has to offer. Instead of just get the eagle and bail, let's do all these other fun things and see what else we can leave a legacy with. And that's really what it comes down to is how are we as leaders leaving our legacy?
Yeah.
And so anyway, any other, I don't want to dominate your guys' entire meeting. And I know we're coming up on an hour. So I did warn you that as a professional speaker, I could go for a while. So I apologize for going over time if we have. And
You have not, you're all good.
Good.
Any other
But
questions?
any final thoughts or questions, concerns? Like I said, I fly all over the country and we have fun, teach the leadership, and we'll talk about some of the different, activities both in the books or raising private equity to, do some pretty challenging things. But, again, if there's any way that you guys want to have me help you or engage you, certainly reach out to me, and I'm happy to help out and offer thoughts as comes my way.
Excellent. I'm gonna stop.
Cool.
the
I'm gonna
recording.
mute myself out then. How's that?
Well, I had another question. Let me just stop the recording.